Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the True You podcast with me, Paula Burns, Creative Confidence and Visibility Mentor. So this is a place where we have open discussions to understand who we are in order that we can live our lives to the fullest. And I love having on special guests who share their version of their true lives. And my guest today is a really good friend. And we did a recording a couple of years ago, I think. And I feel like our change game is right up there. We're always doing something different. We are always growing, improving, and always looking for that space where we are living our true lives. And so I am so excited to have this conversation and to introduce you all as listeners to my guest today. Welcome, Prith B.
Hi, Paula. Thanks for having me on again.
It's amazing. I'm so excited to have a conversation with you on my podcast because, as I said, I think we are always growing, and it's so important for us to know that we are living our true lives and sharing that with people around us. So I am so excited for my listeners to hear what you're about, what you're passionate about, and a bit about your true life. So let's just get into it, and I'll ask you, what is it that you do?
Yeah, so I'm an artist, visual artist, primarily a painter. I also teach art and I work in schools as well. I do some work around creative learning, and I do live workshops, and I do some workshops in the community as well. So I do a bit of a mix of things.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the art that you do.
Yeah, so I've just had an exhibition actually, so it's quite timely, this podcast. Yeah. So I just had an exhibition on Saturday, and I was showing a project I've been working on for 12 months called Hidden Women Untold Stories. And that project was all about finding people within my own local community, women who were mothers and wanted to tell their story. So I literally sat in my local community centre with a sign up saying, Portrait Project, do you want to share your story? Yeah. And I got this woman, she responded, and she couldn't speak English, but I put my Instagram handle next to it. Anyway, then she just texted me via Instagram and she said, I do. And then we started a conversation. And that was the beginning. And I painted seven women over the course of the year, and invited them to share their story. And I tried to depict that in the painting. So that was really fascinating. So that's been one of my, I'm really proud of that project. In terms of this project's called True You, it's funny because I just thought to myself, this is I've been painting for a while, but this project felt really special and it felt really me. And it was it encompassed everything that I believe in, women telling their story, community. I'm not interested in celebrity, I'm interested in women.
The real women, yeah.
So it sort of was all of that really. And, and as it goes out into the world, it'll be more, because you will just see how it impacts other people as they see the work and they read people's stories. So I'm looking forward to see how it goes forward. But so that's my main passion really. That's my main theme of my artwork at the moment, and that can change as well. But I've been on female portraiture for a while, for about maybe 3-4 years now, and it might change, but at the moment that's where I am in there.
I love the idea of the true stories and the real stories, and women telling their real stories, because they can be a bit gritty, and it's not about us as well. And you mentioned the fact that you don't, you're not looking to just work with celebrities. I'm sure you would if you could, but if the opportunity came up. But it is so important in terms of getting those real gritty stories, that, women who want to share those stories about themselves. And then you sort of interpret that in your paintings. You are so talented, Prith. I'm in awe of you, of how talented you are. You're amazing. But I wanted to just say a little bit about what is it that you love about what you do?
I think I love the freedom and the creativity and the fact that there's nothing and you create something.
Yeah.
Because it is weird, painting's weird. You have these tubes with different, blue, red, yellow, orange, whatever, and you have this blank bit of canvas or paper, and then from a few tubes of paint, you can create something that's just totally full of feeling and it takes you somewhere. I just think that's amazing. I think it sort of gives me a voice, and I think that's what art does. But it's almost like sometimes you don't have a voice, or your voice might not be heard in the world, but this sort of gives you agency and it gives you a voice. Whether people see your artwork or not, at least you are articulating your view of the world, or you're saying your bit in your own way, and it can be really powerful. So I think, there's lots of things to like about it, but I was sort of reflecting on how powerful, paintings can be after the exhibition. Because there's one woman came in and she saw the picture and she read the story and she just sort of started crying because she resonated with it so much. And when you looked at the painting with this woman, and she was quite rebellious, and it was almost like she couldn't speak against the people who had done her wrong, if you like. I don't want to say what happened to her, but what we could do was create this painting that almost stood up to them silently. And it was an act of rebellion, and it was an act of us not taking it and not taking it lying down. And it was almost like, and I painted her, she was over 1 meter high. And she had attitude, and she was looking the viewer in the eye. It was very arresting. And a lot of people looked at them going, that was the one they were really striking. And it was almost like, I was thinking, this is our way of fighting back. Because sometimes as women you can't, because the power relations can be really strong, or, culture can stop you from doing it. But we did it, in that little space. It's like, we did fight back, and we're going to continue to.
Yeah, and the thing is, that is a skill. That's a skill on your part to be able to interpret it in that way, so that, she could look at that and other people could look at that painting and actually see the message and the strength that was coming from it. So that's awesome. It just sounds really powerful, even while you're explaining it. It's a really powerful thing to do. So I want to take you back to your childhood, because this is one of the questions I love to ask. I know we probably sort of touched on this before when we spoke a few years ago, but I just think it's important for people to understand, the journey and how you came to this point where you are now this, what I would say, magnificent artist, doing what you absolutely love. And I know there's such a joy that comes from you when you were working and when you were painting, but it didn't happen overnight. So I'd love to know a little bit about what your childhood was like, and what was that journey that got you to the place where you are now?
Well, I'm one of 7 children, born into a Sikh family, so Indian family, and I was the first born in this country, which is quite important. So when my family came over, there was already like 5 kids, and my dad, they came from Uganda. So they settled here, which is quite important to know. So I was one of the first born. Me and my little sister were born in this country. So it was a little bit of it was quite a tight environment, because there was this desire to keep hold of the culture, and they didn't want us to adopt Western behaviours or Western habits. So my dad was quite strict, to be honest. I had to go to Indian school, learn Gurumukhi, which is Punjabi, the language, written as well, and we had to wear Indian suits on a Saturday morning in town, which was quite tough when you're a teenager. So it was like this thing. So it was quite oppressive, actually. The expectation was that the girls would just get married and have kids and not really have a profession or go to university. So I was the first girl in our family to go to university. I don't know what happened. I had this sort of, I had this feeling that I wanted to get away. So rather than do it loudly and rebelliously, I was just really quiet. And I thought, you know what, the boys have got away via university. So what if I just be quiet and study? So I just studied really hard and I was really quiet. And they thought I was really quiet, and I got my A-levels. And then I sort of said, oh, can I go to university? And they were a little bit hesitant, but then they said, oh, she's really quiet and fine. She's not going to do anything. And they let me go. It was so funny. And then I was free. So that was my ticket out of the oppressive household. Yeah. So that was quite funny. But, they did, there were plans, they wanted to get me married. Sometimes they'd take me somewhere to show me a bloke.
Yeah.
So, so I was thinking, I didn't want that. I wanted a bit of freedom, And anyway, so I went to university to that. And then I just sort of never went back. They weren't very happy about it. Mm. But I think my strive, so I think the reason freedom's so important for me is because of that. Mm. The reason I'm so passionate about equality and why I say proudly I'm a feminist is because of that, because it was a very patriarchal culture. The boys, were allowed to do whatever they wanted to do. They could have English girlfriends and still get married Indian. Mm. The girls weren't even allowed to go out, never mind, So it was very, it was one rule for them, different rule for us.
Yeah.
So, so that sort of shaped me, what I do now. And I think, sexism exists anyway in Western culture anyway, but it was quite, it was quite strong in my when I was growing up, so I had to fight against it. And I literally did have to, fight to get out and be free, really. So I think that's where it comes from. I think the art gives you that freedom of expression that I didn't have, that I always wanted. And I don't know, maybe I think that's, so I'm glad in a way, because otherwise if I had a nice, easy life, I wouldn't be bothered about the issues that concern me now.
I feel that works really well. When you hear a lot of successful people, they usually come from a background of some sort of oppression or some challenge that they've gone through that they want to push past, and they feel that it's important for them to push past that and to move into a new space. And so totally relate to when you mentioned sort of the things about, your culture and having to dress a certain way and things like that. And, and as me coming from, a Jamaican family and a Jamaican background, I was born in this country, all of my brother and sister was born here as well. But the culture is so important to parents, they want to hold on to that culture. And I can understand that, because obviously, I love my culture, but at the same time, we are westernized, we have been brought up in this country. We do want to do certain things and all of that. So I can totally relate to some of the things that you mentioned in terms of, how you had to be, because that was how the family was. Do you feel that your art was a natural skill, or was it something that you learned?
Well, it is something you have to learn. I think if you've got a desire to do something, you'll put in more hours. Because people say, is it a gift? But I've been doing it for quite a few years. You have to learn to draw. You have to learn to paint. I think it's the hours you put in that makes it better, and maybe the passion and the thought you give to what you paint as well. Yeah, makes your art what it is. I don't. People say. I mean, some people might be gifted. Some people are really good at it when they're really young. But I remember doing it when I was doing my O-levels and stuff, and I always did it. But I think I did it then because it gave me a voice when I didn't have one within my family, because I was one of 7. So it was almost like that was my thing when I was little. I used to draw Debbie Harry. I remember drawing Debbie. I remember drawing Blondie, thinking she was really cool. Like, this drawing was really good, and I was thinking, I can draw. And I always remember that little drawing I did. I even remember where I was in the dining room drawing it, and I just remember it really vividly, thinking, I can draw. And then I just sort of always did. Even when I went to university, I used to paint all my friends. I wasn't doing art. I didn't do art for a degree. I did communication studies, but I was always. I even used to paint using my fingers on cellophane and like bits of plastic. And I used to use acrylic paints because I don't know why I did that, but I've still got some of those because I didn't have that much money when I was a student, but I was still doing it. And I was always painting even when I was at college, university. But I think it's hours. I think it's the time you put in and the desire you have to do it. I think that's what makes it.
Yeah. And I think, it's yes, you put in that time and effort, but that's because you feel that it's something that you really enjoy as well. So it is sort of like I still feel it's a mixture of talent, natural talent, as well as the learning as well, because not everybody, I mean, I love paintings and I love drawings, but I have not the patience to keep doing that and learning it and drawing or anything like that. But that was definitely something that was meant for you. And so that's why you went down that road. So did you, because now, I mean, this is what you love doing and your painting is sort of the main thing that you offer. But did you do other jobs before you sort of got into this space where you now do that as your main thing?
Yeah, I did because I didn't think, a lot of people don't think art can be a career. I mean, I don't do it full time now. I still have to do subsidize it with other work. So I do like some, business workshops and some business coaching as well. That's what I do. But for a while, I just did. I worked in inequalities for a while in the charity sector. I worked for Cardiff Council for like 15 years. So when I had my child, and I did do part-time after my son was born. And then I sort of gradually sort of spent more and more time on it. And actually, one of my first businesses was I was representing other artists. It was Creatives, the arts agency. And that was because I was like a shadow artist. I didn't believe I could do it. But I loved it. So I would try and sell all my friends' paintings because they all had art degree. They were artists, they had art degrees. And I thought I couldn't do it because I didn't have an art degree. And then I did it slowly. I sort of did it slowly at home. And then I sort of kept doing it. But it took me a while to come out and say I was an artist. It took me a long time. I've had my studio now for like 10, 12 years. And before then, I would just do it at home in my spare room or, just in my study. Yeah. So I have, most of my career, really, I've been working in regular job, regular work. But what the turning point for me actually was lockdown.
Yeah.
And in 2020, it all got a bit serious. We sort of forget about it now, but there was a point when we thought we could die, wasn't there? Do you know what I mean? And we forget that now. We just call it lockdown and think, we couldn't go out. But actually, there was this, every day they were telling us how many people were dying of this, COVID, and it was really scary. And then I just remember, and I think we all did reflect on what we were doing in life. And I do remember thinking, and I was busy. I remember I was doing some training, I was doing some work and I was going to do this online training course in creativity. And then I was doing it, and then all of a sudden I thought, oh God, what if this happened and I didn't try to be an artist and my life was over? Mm-hmm. What if I didn't? And I just thought, you've got to. So then it was in that period, towards the end of lockdown, I was like, right, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to put all my effort into it. And that's what I'm going to... So I switched business from training in, marketing, creativity. And then I thought, I'm going to see if I can do this art thing.
Yeah.
So that was the switch, really. Because it's wherever you put your energy, wherever you put your focus, that's where your energy goes, doesn't it? So my focus was always on business. And I was like, switch it. So then I did finally switch it. So I switched it then, which isn't that long ago.
It isn't. Oh my goodness. Do you know what? I wasn't aware that was the time that was the big turning point for you. And funnily enough, I was having a conversation with somebody else about this with lockdown, and I feel like it was a reset for so many of us.
Yeah.
Because, most of the conversations I have now with people is like they say, oh, in 2020, I made this decision, or
Yeah.
this allowed me to think in a different way. It was very similar to me. I'd been, running my events business for a number of years. And of course, that was really hit by COVID because everything stopped.
Yeah.
I'd been dabbling a bit in mentoring, and I'd been running workshops and training and all of those things, but I hadn't really put, a big effort into really promoting that as something that I would be my main offering. And it wasn't until lockdown that then I decided to totally pivot. And I absolutely love the mentoring side of what I offer because I can still provide the creative skills that I have, but really help people see themselves and see their business in a different way. And so, definitely lockdown for me was also a pivoting moment. So, I totally get that. So I wasn't aware that was a big turning
Wasn't
point
it?
as well.
Yeah. So then I just thought, just focus on that. And then I tried to, and it was quite clever. Then I think I had my first solo exhibition. I think it was either 2022 or 2023. I'm not sure. But, it's only 25 now, 2025. I've had 3 solo exhibitions in those, from me. That's a lot, Well, I did have another one on Saturday, so that's 4 now, isn't it? But it's quite a lot in just a short space of time, really.
And it's like you said, what you focus on will improve, and that will grow. Because you realize that what you saw. Was there a time that you felt like you lost your way?
I think lots of times.
Mm.
I probably lost my way when I was 18, when I chose to do the degree I chose to do instead of, I did get into doing an art foundation for a degree. I did get an opportunity to do that. I got offered that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get away from him, so I went to a different route. So maybe, and then I think, I spent how many years working for the council in social services, social care.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a waste, I think.
Really?
I know I learned stuff and it was okay. But you look back now and you think, that was a big chunk of my life that could have been a little bit more exciting.
I bet there's people listening now thinking the same thing. You just get caught up in that, though, don't you?
And it was only when I left the council to start my first business. I think that was 2017 or something. Because before then I was working. I went part-time first, set up my first business quite a while ago. So that was the arts agency. And then I switched to training. I did a creative thinking company then. But I think that whole chunk of time, it was okay in a way because I was bringing up my son and I tried to start a business when he was little, but I couldn't do it because I had to look after him and, my husband's a teacher and he can't have time off. So if anything, whenever they're ill, I always had to do it. I had to cover. So I had to wait until he was at least in school, but then you sort of get sucked into things, and you get sucked into your job and you become a manager and you get the salary and blah, blah. I think it's really important.
We're all taken over by that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Bonuses,
so that was
salary. Yeah.
I think it was the 15 or 17 years I spent there and it was okay. But I actually think it was only when I started, running my business that life started getting more interesting because being in business is far more interesting, isn't it?
Oh, it really is.
You meet so many different people and you've got so much more responsibility. You're in charge of your life. You're just so much, I feel like all those little businesses I had and the different things I did with different people that I knew, I think that was really rich. And now I'm sort of in a different area where I got a different richness. And the richness is almost like a lot of it I do on my own. And I quite like being on my own. So a lot of my work, is solitary. I spend at least 3 days on my own, which I really love because I like the quiet and I can't spend too much time with people. So so now I've got a different kind of work, which is much nicer, much richer. And, I'm really excited to what's going to happen next as well, because I'm not quite sure. I think I'm going to do more, but I'm not making plans. I'm just keeping it open because I just want to experience the fallout from what I've done with this project, because I'm only just appreciating it really. And so I'm just going to see what happens and see what I can do, what's going to come from this. Because sometimes I think you have to sit in something and really absorb it and feel it. You can't do everything with your head and plan. I just want to sit in it and feel it and
it's important
feel what's next.
Feel it. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I love the fact that you use that word richness. And I use that a lot when I speak to people about my life and how it's been since I've been in business and having my own business and doing my own thing. My life has been so much richer, and I tell people this all the time. And it's not necessarily talking about monetary ways. We're talking about the richness of the people and the experiences and all those things that,
and the stimulation of the brain and like the challenges and the unknowns and everything. It's just really interesting, isn't it?
So interesting. And I can say the same thing, that I'm so excited that I've spent the last 20 years doing what I do, rather than just being in an environment where I'm working in a 9 to 5, doing the same thing every single day, meeting the same people every day, making the same sort of decisions. It just became really monotonous. And I think that there's probably people who listen to this podcast who are in that place, and it's hard sometimes to make that decision to step out of it, because we're so used to it that you've got the certainty where we feel it's a certainty.
I know, and I was telling you the other day, wasn't I, like when I was thinking of leaving, my marriage was on the line, because my partner is he's like the opposite. He's very safe. Yeah. And we nearly broke up because he couldn't understand it. And he was like, what do you mean you want to leave? You've got this safety.
This is one of the questions. The next thing I was going to ask you is, how scary was that for you, making that decision to say, look, I'm going to step into this space? Because yes, you've got the people around you that are giving you that negative talk, but you've also got the negative talk in your head.
Exactly.
Because we're all going through, I don't think people realize that the people around us who are saying, oh, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Giving us all this angst. They don't realize that we're actually going through the same thing in our heads, that we are so passionate about it that we just have to do it. We can't stop ourselves. It has to be done. So how was that for you? Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so it was scary. I mean, I was only, the first step was doing part-time in my council job, so I reduced my days, I think, to 2 days or something. So that was a bit of a step, and I remember, that was a big step. And then I did go eventually. Then I finished completely with them, but it was like really hard. And like you said, like you're not sure yourself, and then there's all this stuff within the entrepreneur world, and you've got to jump, you've got to take the leap, and you have all these people going, it's exciting, but they never talk about the stuff that the doubt that you have, and then and it's and then my husband wasn't too keen on it all, and we nearly broke up over it. But then we survived it, which was good. And so it was scary. Yeah. It seems a long time ago now. And you sort of end up getting used to this life. And sometimes it is hard, because you're always looking like, where is the money coming from? Because you've got to live. Yeah. I've got rent to pay on my studio. It's not like I just sit around painting. Like, I am in business. I have to make money because I got rent to pay. If I don't make, I've got to pay for that because I need my space to paint, so I have to make money. So it was hard. And I think it just takes, I don't know, it just takes bravery, doesn't it? You just got to be brave, and you've got to really stand by yourself. And then sometimes you do have to just say, well, you're only going to live once. And, at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, you can always go and get another job somewhere else. It's not the end of the world,
Absolutely.
but you've just got to take
Yeah.
you just got to take the chances sometimes, don't you? I think you just got to do what you think you're here to do sometimes, especially as you get older. You can't just be toeing the line in a boring 9 to 5 job. It's okay. Sometimes you need that, depending on what stage you are in your life. If you've got young family and mortgage, blah, blah, you have to. But then when you get a bit older and you think, how much have you got left? Your chapters left. You've only got like a few little chapters in life, haven't you? And you've got to go, right, we're at self-actualization now. Thank you very much.
Yes.
That's what I'm interested in.
Yes, you've gone past that, just surviving. You don't want to just survive. You want to live. You want to live. You don't want to just survive. So like day by day, it's like, oh, right, I've survived that day. And it's the next day, I've survived that day. But nothing's inspired you. Nothing's made you feel alive and happy and all of these things.
And don't you ever think, what are you here to do? Because I think we're all here to do something.
I do. Yeah.
And I always think that if someone else can do that job that I'm doing, they might as well do it. There's no point me doing it because I need to do something else. Because I'm special. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
And
sort of crazy hindsight. Yeah. We are all special. So I think our job is all about this. Really, it's about, we should always say to it, what are we here to do?
Why are we here? What's our purpose?
There's a reason.
And each individual, and this is why I love sharing this over and over with people, that, each one of us are unique. We all have our very, very special gifts. And even if somebody, if I start working with a new client and they say, well, there's nothing special about me, but the type of questions, and when we start having this conversation and I'm asking them these different questions, all of a sudden I see their faces light up. And they start talking about the things that are really important to them and, the things that they love that have been buried so deeply that they've forgotten who they are as individuals, because they've just gone through this everyday thing where it's just really mundane, and they have told themselves that I'm not very interesting when they actually are.
And it doesn't mean you have to be self-employed to do your thing.
No.
It's just, it might be like finding the right role that suits you. You can still be employed, but it's just about finding what it is that you love to do, what you think you're here to do. And I think, I think we should have done it a bit earlier. The good thing is I've got, my son's quite funny. He's like a good teacher. He did this thing when he was like, choosing college and deciding what to do. People always have a plan B. He never had a plan B. He was like, he said, I'm going to be a football manager. And my sister-in-law goes to him, yeah, but if you don't get in to do that, what are you going to do? He said, nothing. He goes, I haven't got plan B. That's what I'm going to do. And I just looked at him and I thought, that's brilliant. I wish I was like that when I was your age, and I was so proud of him. And I was thinking, we can just take a leaf out of his book, don't have a plan B, just go for what you want. Yeah. If you just go for plan A, you're more likely to get it, aren't you?
You're going to put 100% into it. And funnily, again, I had this recent conversation with somebody who said about, I don't have a plan B because it'll take away my concentration from plan A. If you've got a plan B, you're going to go, oh, well, if this doesn't work, I can go to plan B. But if you haven't, even go there. If you haven't, you're going to put 100% in your plan A. Because this is where you want to be. And that doesn't say that, it might not happen, but you deal with that when it comes, and there's always opportunities that show up during the time. It might not, you might not get exactly what you were thinking of, but something else might, something else pops up in that space, in that path that you're walking, that you realize this is where I'm supposed to be.
We should all have the right to a plan A, shouldn't we? We should teach that in school. Just you do what you want. Just go for that.
Yeah, we didn't. I mean, even growing up, I think about it, and you've talked about growing up. There wasn't, you weren't asked. Nobody was having the conversations about who are you really. What do you love? What do you really? How do you
want your life to be? How do you want your life to be?
About things, yes.
We had those.
those types of questions didn't occur. We were just told, work really hard in school, get a great job. Well, that's what I was told. Get a great job where at least you can get promotion and, just work your way up the corporate ladder, work for a big company. And, being able to do all the regular things that everybody does. And I remember thinking, even from quite a young age, and even though I was quite quiet and very unassuming, I always knew that. And I remember actually saying at the time, and oh gosh, I was quite young at the time, and I remember saying, I don't just want to grow up, get married, and disappear into the woodwork. I remember saying that I just wanted more out of life. I just wanted my life to be more special, to be unique and to be different. And I had no idea that I'd be doing what I do now, which I absolutely love. And, you're talking about getting to a certain age, when you get to a certain age and you sort of you realize, I love where I am. I love where my mind is now. I love, how I see life. I love the direction that I look at and how I look at things. I just love it. I love the fact that
brilliant.
That I'm
And how long have you been there? How long have you been at that point, do you think?
Do you know what? Probably, oh gosh, do you know what? Probably in the last year, 18 months. I feel like totally 100% like that, because I think I was leading up to it. So I think you get to the stage where you lead up to it. But when you hit, I'm at this age 60, I turned 60 this year, and I just feel like it was like a switch. It was like, oh my goodness, I just love who I am. I love who I am. I love the fact that I think the way that I think, and I don't feel like I have to fit myself into a box and all of those things, and I just want to encourage other people to think like that as well. And it's not easy, I know, if you're not used to thinking like that, but taking those little steps.
Yeah, a great place to be, isn't it?
It is. It really is. It really is. Prith, I want to ask these quick fire questions before we end this podcast.
Okay.
I always ask these questions at the end of the podcast because it just gives the listeners a little bit of an insight into some key areas of your life, of how you feel about things, even though I know that they would have picked up so much from this conversation anyway. But do you understand what makes you truly happy?
Yes. Being in the studio on my own.
Oh, love it. I can see the joy, you shared clips.
But actually, but also, I've had the project I did actually, I might, rather than just being on my own, but actually, like painting portraits and telling someone's story and that interaction, those conversations, and then showing them has just been so gorgeous. And it's been so beautiful thing to do. Yeah. I've really enjoyed it. So I will add on painting in the studio with those conversations as well.
I love it. I love it. How are you with getting still to feel emotion?
I'm fine with that. It's really funny. Recently, it's supposed to be quick. Recently, I've created this little. I've taken over my son's room because he's moved out, and I've got this little cushion corner. And it's really nice because I go in that corner upstairs and I can just dim the lights. I can just sit quietly.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Sometimes I've got this, I put this like meditation kind of soundtrack that I got, and I just sit there and they last 15 minutes. And I just have these really nice, quiet moments, And so, I'm quite good at being still. And I do that quite often before I start painting. I have to quieten my mind and just detox from the world before I start. So I'm quite good at that, actually.
Love it. I love that. How have you found your tribe?
I'm getting there. Not completely. I've got some. I've got some really good friends who really get me. So I'm getting there. I have got some really good friends, but tribe, I think I'm getting there.
And it's sometimes you can have little pockets of tribes, one tribe is there for one thing, certain type of experiences and another tribe here or whatever. So
I feel like there's this one tribe that I'm not part of yet that I want to be part of, and it's not there yet. But I quite like, I quite want that tribe to happen. But I have got, I am so lucky to have like good friends who get me and support me.
And and that is so important, you know, again, for anybody listening, you know, when you're in that quest of finding your true self, is being able to be surrounded by people who absolutely get you, who understand you and give you space to be you. You know, having that tribe, and this is why this is such an important question for me to ask, is finding your tribe is just so key in finding your true self and living your true life. And that will happen over time, you know, that gathers, you know, if people, you know, are listening and they're at that very early stage, you will, you know, gather your tribe as you go along, you know, because you're in that space where you should be, and you're in the spaces that are inspiring you and all of these things, and you start to collect your tribe as you go along. So, and that will happen to you as well, Prith. You will find more of your key tribe that you're looking to attract. And finally, do you love yourself unconditionally?
I'm getting closer to that, actually. It's really funny. Part of this project I had to do, I ended up being part of it, and creating the portrait of my story was such a journey. And there was a lot of tears and a lot of realizations that, you know, I wasn't very compassionate with myself. I learned a lot about myself, and I went through this patch that was like, was a real mirror as to what I thought of myself, which wasn't very. I was quite surprised. So, but then I worked through it, and I got to compassion. So I'm better, but I realised I need to do more work. But I had this really great moment after the exhibition where I did have to have some quiet time, and then I don't need to sound arrogant, but I had this quiet time, and there was lots of tears and stuff. Then, like, probably about half an hour afterwards, I had this thought that I just thought to myself, "You've got a really big heart."
You have. And
I never said that about myself before. But through that quiet time, out of all the things, all the stuff that was going on, had been, this thing came to me that said, "You've got a big heart." Nothing else. And I was like, "Thanks, yeah, I have." And that's why it all hurts so much. And it was like, that was quite nice. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
And giving it, and I think it's so important to give ourselves grace, that to understand that loving ourselves unconditionally means that we are a work in progress, and we're not perfect, you know, but we are, you know, when I say about how I love the way that I am, and I love the way that I think, and I love all of these things, I know I'm not perfect, but I love the person that I am, and how I evaluate things. And
it's such a huge thing to be able to say, Paula, and I don't think a lot of us can say that. And I think there's a lot, and it would be great if we could all say that. But you know, but I think that's like the Holy Grail, isn't it, to be able to say that?
It is.
You know?
Yes, it really.
So I'm working on it, you know. But you know, I do. You know, I'm proud of myself. I don't, you know, I am proud of myself and what I do.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It has been absolutely amazing having you as a guest on my podcast. If people want to connect with you, where's the best place to find you online, you know?
Yeah. So there's my website. It's prithb-art.com, or I'm on Instagram as well, where I put loads of like little videos and things, and that's prith_b_art. So they're the two probably best places. I'm on Facebook as well, but you can find, if you go to my website, you can link everywhere from there. Thanks, Paula. Lovely to chat. There I was thinking I'd have nothing to say.
So much. Thanks again. And to everyone listening, I'm sure you were taking away so many gems from this conversation. I told you it was going to be like, more, but also easy because I've known Prith for so long. But if you were listening to this podcast and thinking, whatever stage that you are right now, hopefully that you're inspired to live your true life as well. So I will be back next time with another amazing guest. But in the meantime, keep being the true you. Bye, everyone.